I recorded today the last piece of voiceover I will ever record for the Grand Tour.
This is the Today Podcast Live. Let's do it.
Now, James, zillions of people who've come here tonight and also at home and listened to this podcast basically want to know what you're up to next. And they know about your hobbies and your tea and your fascination. They follow you on Instagram and know you've got all sorts of fascinating ventures going on. What's going on with TV and the Grand Tour? Is there going to be another series? Are you ever going to come back? Are we going to see you driving cars around again?
Well, let me just have a quick
do you want to have a conversation with yourself?
I do want to have I want to have a conversation with the sort of remote PR person who dwells in the back of my brain, who tells me what to say on moments like this.
Well, I'll ask you the question again.
Go on then.
Will we see another series of the Grand Tour with you?
No. We have... There's still a big special to come, which is going to come later in this year, and I'm not allowed to tell you what date it's coming out, I think, so I won't say it's September. And I can say anything I want now, frankly. But we're not going to make another series together about cars, no. Well, hang on. I mean, you should never say no, should you? That's a slight trap question, because that's one of those questions you ask politicians when they always say, well, you can't say no forever. I think it is pretty unlikely.
There are things we don't believe them, but we believe you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm
That
sad
is a compliment.
about that. I mean, are you sad about it?
Well, yes, I can. Let me just quickly consult with look at the facial expression on. No, I'm not sure. I recorded today the last piece of voiceover I will ever record for the Grand Tour, and therefore, in that whole legacy of Grand Tour, Top Gear, and a few things I did before that. So that was. Yes, it was telling, but you always ask me about this. I hate you for it, actually. I just have that on the record, seeing as this is live. Is it? I don't know. But anyway, we have to accept that we've done it for, well, I think it's nearly 22 years, a lot longer than we thought we would. I thought when I started doing it in 2003 or 4 that it would, I thought this was a bit of a laugh. Maybe it'll last a few years. And, here we are, grey and wizened and sagging, and we've only just stopped doing it. And it's quite remarkable, and you have to be grateful for the opportunity and thankful that it happened, and accept, I don't want to be the person in the pub who used to be on the telly.
Well, you won't be. You'll be doing other things, we hope.
Well, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you'll get a podcast.
Yeah. This sounds pathetic, doesn't it? Sorry, I wasn't prepared for this, and it sounds feeble, but I don't really know what's. But we are working on a few things, me and some chums. They're quite modest. I'm in the fortunate position of being able to do things for the sheer joy of it, and I hope one or two of those will come off, and I hope one or two of you might even watch them. But it's not. There's no. I was saying to somebody earlier on, my greatest remaining ambition is to get to the end of my life without running over anybody, because I've managed it so far, and it would be deeply ironic and very unpopular if it happened now. So that'd
be a great headline, though. It'd be a good front page story.
Not for me.
Yeah, not. You were also a guest editor of the Today programme.
Yes.
Which suggests that even though you've discovered the wonderful world of streaming and the ability to broadcast pretty much any way you like, there's still something that pulls you back, is there, to the British Broadcasting Corporation?
Yes. There's also something about radio, and I'll be brutally frank, there's something about non-commercial radio that is uninterrupted, and I actually share your views, Amol, about clothes, because I hate them as well. And because I've spent quite a bit of my life on the television, admittedly not in a formal role, we basically presented a cross between a sitcom, a circus, and an asylum, so clothing wasn't really that important. But I did actually, over the years, spend quite a bit of money on clothes, and I have an unerring ability to make them look crap. I mean, really bad. And I'm entirely with you on comfort. If I have to wear a suit, I particularly hate black tie
Oh, I
events.
can't
I often turn them down simply because they're black tie.
Why would you want to go somewhere where you look the same as everyone else?
Well, quite. And then people who try and look a bit different.
Yeah.
I then think, oh, you're just trying to be a bit different. And I think, but I didn't want to look this, it's too confusing. But I sort of come out in a slight rash if I have to be too formal. I am genuinely. It's not an allergy, obviously. That would be ridiculous. But I am uncomfortable, and I've always felt like that.
Well, you're both looking very relaxed while I'm here in my suit and feeling less relaxed. But tell us about your moment of the week, James.
Well, my moment of the week is... Now, this is going to amaze any of my friends who are listening, but I was thinking about, the election. It's fascinating. There's a huge amount of detail, but almost too much for most of us to get our heads around, because I know you struggle with it, and it's what you do as a job, and you're doing it all the time, night and day. The rest of us are looking at, listening to a few podcasts, reading newspapers, looking at social media. It is, in the end, a bit Dullsville. It's a bit dry, and at the same time, there's quite a bit of, war and the pity of war going on, and people are worried about the cost. There's quite a lot of quite gloomy stuff, and I suddenly thought, hang on a minute, the Euro tournament starts. I'm going to say the day after tomorrow, but it might be today, because I'm still confused about where we actually are. But anyway, very soon. Or yesterday. Who knows? Yeah,
Depending on when you're listening.
But it doesn't seem to have had actually that much coverage, because there is so much other stuff getting in the way. Now, I don't follow a football team. I've never been very sporty. I have to say that. I was rubbish at football as a kid. The only thing I ever managed, I never scored a goal. I did fracture my wrist once at the age of about 20 playing five-a-side football. That was my greatest achievement on the pitch. I was never particularly good at sports. But I think the amazing thing about watching football, which I often do, especially when it's a tournament like this, is it's pretty close, I think, to the peak of human physical intelligence, which is a thing I love watching. I don't really have it. I mean, I'm not. I can throw and catch a ball, and I can ride a bicycle. I can stand on one leg until about 9:30 p.m. Then I wouldn't try, but. I wasn't good at football. My disco shapes back in the 70s and early 80s were appalling. And when I see people who can, in the fraction of a second that it takes, kick a ball 3/4 of the length of a football pitch to the feet of another man who's running at high speed, who then collects it. It's a bit like when you watch cats jumping onto a window ledge, or a dog catching a ball on an awkward bounce in its mouth. It's that sort of intelligence, and it's just incredible to see.
So will you be hooked? Are you going to watch every match? Will you follow obscure teams?
I won't watch every single one, because that's almost always impossible, but I usually manage to get most of them as highlights, and I will watch probably half of them. And I will support England. I tend to have a little hierarchy. I will support England, then I will support other teams from the British Isles. But I'm reasonably impartial once England have been knocked out by Germany on penalties. The thing the point I want to make is that even if you're not a football fan, and I'm not, frankly, I find it too complicated to follow, you can sit back and enjoy a tournament like this, hosted by the Germans, so it'll be properly organised, all that. And you can simply enjoy the spectacle, because football is, I think, probably the greatest spectator sport ever conceived.
Yeah.
It continues to amaze me.